the one thing that I learned from Dan Koe that really sort of made me understand how he's able to make such a very solid foundational brand. First, it all comes down, I know you've probably seen his videos where he talks about, oh, I just do it from the newsletter. And then from the newsletter, he makes that into a long form video, right? And somehow it gets views. But I want you guys to understand this concept. And I got this from JKMolina as well. It's the idea of the protagonist or the idea of a main character. I feel like we live our lives so much, like we're so stuck in our routines that we don't notice that the things that we're doing are actually very, very interesting to average people. So for instance, right, like you might be running every single day, right? You might be working out, whatever it is, right? The problem, or not the problem, but like the thing that we don't notice, right, as people that are living that quote unquote protagonist arc, if we do frame it that way, right, is that it looks very interesting to people that, hey, this guy's running and he's actually trying to achieve XYZ goal in like 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is. And the thing is, like, I understand the idea of hiding your goals, but also at the same time, it makes it very fascinating and interesting for people to be in tune with what you do. And by being in tune with what you do, what happens to that type of audience? They're more captivated to listen to you. So the highest form of influence, again, I learned this from Dan Koe, learned this from JKMolina. It's like the way that you want to sort of represent your brand or present your brand, right? It's through the main character arc. It's through, word conventions of your business. Think about it, right? Like, I want you to think about Alex Hormozi for a second, right? What makes his brand so special, aka on YouTube or wherever on the interwebs? Why do you think he's popular? Well, he gives like the best business advice, right? In terms of quote unquote free value so that he can invest into your company once you hit 3 million, right? That's sort of what his goal is to make you money so that eventually he can buy your company and make it more money, right? That's sort of his tactical way. But on the outside looking in, right? Think about his type of philosophy that he shares and people that root for him and watch his videos. What do they all have in common? Well, they work 24/7. They love working. That's no joke. They feel like, meaning in life is somewhat useless. They derive value from the work that they do every single day, regardless of how it feels. And, you can literally look back at the storyline of Alex Hormozi and break it down from the main character arc. So, like, if we go from, when he talked about his gym business, right? Gym launch. And how he started that business with his, wife, Layla. Think about that for a second. Think about that. Like, he talks about the story a lot, right? But the way he talks about it makes it so relatable, right? And then he talks about how he made it and how he failed, right? Why is this important? Why is this important for you to understand? Well, if you look at Dan Koe as well, you look at JKMolina, what do they all have in common? They all have like some type of storyline in the way that they represent their branding. And I don't mean like generic storylines. I mean like a storyline that declares a goal of where they want to go. So you're not hiding behind someone's back. You're actually showing and showcasing what you can do. Like Dan Koe, the reason why his branding works so well, because I'm sure you've heard the word that you are the niche. Who do you think sort of created that, right? Like, it's more like Dan Koe. Dan Koe created that type of understanding. But the reason why it works so well is because it matches his storyline, but also matches the words that he uses. And as I just said, right, the words and conventions you use in your marketing, right? If you start having your audience use those words themselves, they're already bought into the idea. And when people buy your ideas, right, they buy the identity that you're trying to sell. And when you sell this identity, you're selling a philosophy. And when you're selling a philosophy, think about it. Who buys philosophy most of the time? Like, there usually tend to be richer people. And when I mean richer, I mean like higher in income. And these people tend to be more sophisticated. And because of that, you attract that level of buyer versus somebody that's like a free lead that wants to get your free lead magnet for free and do XYZ and just try it out. Do you guys sort of see the difference? And this is why it's super important to understand the storyline arc or the protagonist arc or the main character arc, whatever you can call it, right? You guys have to interweave a storyline into your audience so that they buy into the philosophy of what you sell. Because the philosophy will sell itself. The idea will sell itself if it's a good idea. But at the end of the day, the best ideas are actually yourself, from you. You just don't notice them because you live your life so you live like in such a strong routine that you don't notice the things that you're doing every single day that make it so intriguing for others to be in tune with what you do. And the people that are in tune with you are going to buy into that philosophy. And when they buy into that philosophy, they're more likely to be, higher ticket clients. They tend to be like that. They tend to be long-term clients because they bought into the philosophy. And then because of that, right, over time, you have a more sustainable business. Because think about it like a relationship, right? If you meet a girl, for the first time, right? For instance, right? Like you meet your partner, you meet your girl for the first time. And, you guys might not like each other. But what triggers that, quote unquote attractiveness? Well, because you had a story, you had something to talk about. You had something to do with your life. Therefore, she wanted to pursue what you were doing to an extent. She wants to be on the same line as you. So therefore, by being on the same line, being on the same length in terms of understanding each other, that bridge is only created through trust and philosophy. So when you have that trust and philosophy, that person is more likely to do things for you over time. And through there is how you actually build a sustainable business, because it's not about a one-stop shop. It's more about like maintaining a relationship through a long time period and trying to, fix it regardless of how many times it goes up and how many times it goes down. Because we know that business, life, and relationships, regardless, every single thing is never ever going to be perfect. It's never going to be fully rigid. It's always going to be flexible. So make yourself flexible. By making yourself flexible, again, this goes to my other idea of offers, right? And business, if you make it more flexible, the more likely you'll attract, regardless, even if it's volatile, right? The whole goal is to be able to use what you have and make it more flexible, because I guarantee you, there's no business out there in the world that really just focuses on one offer, unless you really want to do that, which, again, if you're like focusing on, let's say, like private equity, right? And trying to build like $100 million franchise, whatever, right? Of course, you want to be very rigid, very focused on exactly what you want. But majority of us, we probably want to make like, $1 million per year to like 5-10 million per year. I guarantee you. And all you're optimizing for is freedom. You're not optimizing for a franchise. You're not optimizing for these bigger businesses because it doesn't make any sense. So back to the idea from Dan Koe and JKMolina and, all these other quote unquote, I guess you could say gurus. I don't know what they're called. But if they're called gurus, right, you have to paint a picture and a storyline that speaks your philosophy, because by doing so, it will attract the ideal, aka the ICP, the ideal client profile of who you actually want to work with. And by doing that, you're able to build a better business, in my opinion. You're not building a business that just sells one character at a time, aka you. You're not doing it once. Your goal is to maintain that. So through the long-term horizon, right, you can build something reoccurring and sustainable. And that's why I don't believe in hustle culture, because hustle culture is dumb, because you hustle for 6 months, but you die after that, right? Like you hustle for 6 months and you burn out, right? You don't want that. So this is sort of the long-term fix if you want to build it in the long-term type of game. If this, this sort of meets what, or like reaches you or sort of like talks to you, right? I hope this is useful. But yeah, I don't know where I'm going to post this. Again, it's going to be all on the social media. If it has a subscribe button, go click the subscribe button. If it has a follow button, do that as well. If you like this, again, be interactive. So comment below on what you think, on your thoughts on these things, because I genuinely want to see, because I don't post that often. I'm mainly on X. And if you guys want to work with me, again, I'm not trying to plug it in. I'm actually building a project called Digital Leaders. I know the name is cringy. I'm going to change it eventually, but we're currently still building it in process right now. But if you really want to learn about XYZ in terms of your business, what you want to do, just message me on X, and I can go, we can sort of talk about what are the options from there. And if you just want to just get more content from me, again, I have like a bunch of content like on my newsletter, so just join that thing, and you can have you can have a fun time with that. Anyways, take care, guys, and enjoy your day.